What's up? You know what? Let's start with fantasy. Let's not think much about it. Boom. Loading selection. Choose a story. Let's go with chosen, guys. Let's go. What would be my character's name? Let's use Slayer. Boom. Loading selection. The morning mist has lifted from the grove. By the time you finish practicing the forms with your brother's sword, you still think of it as his. Even though it's been a year since they dragged him off to war without so much as a pair of boots to his name. One day, Edgar will come back to claim it, and everything will go back to the way it used to be. You hold the sword up to the light, watching the runes inscribed on the flat of the blades shine. As your eldest brother, Edgar liked to lord it over all of you, but you are pretty sure the sword's runes never sparkled like this for him. He was right to hide it here. A weapon this fine must have once belonged to some great hero. Where did a farmer's son like your brother get his hands on it? He took that secret with him into the army. A horn blares in the distance, not the race call. Something's amiss. You run for the village. At the crest of the hill you halt. Below, you see knights thundering through the streets, their tabards resplendent with the golden fleur-de-lis of Orman. Then the kingdom Edgar was sent to fight. Whatever resistance the village put up has been crushed. Flames lick the thatched huts. Screams split the smoky air. You smote your parents, heads bowed under heavy iron shackles. Soldiers brought them with swords, leading them towards wagons laden with prisoners. An Ormain knight on an armored horse towers over them, barking orders in his strange tongue. You tighten your grip on. No! You're still carrying the sword. In your rush, you forgot to return it to its hiding place in the grove. Your sister Sinarthrit appears at your side, eyes wide as she peers up at the sword in your hand. What do you think you're doing? She says, tugging at your sleeve. Come on, they'll kill you for a sword like that. In the village below, the knight on the armored horse looks up at where you stand on the hill. Holding the ruined blade up to the light, you are Sun Slayer, a peasant from the village of Morganhold in the realm of Brightholm. You found a mysterious rune sword your brother Edgar hid and left when he was conscripted to fight or main. You stand frozen, heart pounding, as the Ormain Knight's eyes lock onto you. He bellows an order and points a mailed fist in your direction. Several of his men peel away from the devastation in the village and begin marching up the hill towards you, hands on their sword hilts. Drop it, brother, Sinrith hisses urgently. Give your arm another sharp tug. We have to go, now. The Ormain Knights charge up the hill, their armored hooves thundering while your sister Sinrith tries to pull you away. The lead knight's armor catches the sun, his red plumes streaming behind him as the barks commands to his men. Your parents stumble in the shackles, their heads turning to where you stand. Their faces contort in horror as they realize what you're holding. Run to the grove, your father shouts. As your legs remain frozen in place, the Ormain Knights cover the distance up the hill with frightening speed. Their armor and weapons glinting in the sun, the lead knight, Sir Guillaume de Folly, by his tabard, rears his warhorse directly before you, forcing you to raise the sword in instinctive defense. Putain! He spits before switching to broken English. You dare threaten us with such a blade, boy? His gauntleted hand clamps down on your sword arm with crushing force, while other knights are surround you, their weapons drawn. Your sister Sinithrit is roughly shoved aside and falls to her knees, hands raised in desperate supplication. Please, he's just a boy, she cries. He meant no harm. We're poor farmers. That's all. We have no part in whatever this is. Sir Guillaume de Foley leans down from his saddle, his breath hot and foul as he sneers at you. A boy with a blade like that, he scoffs, his grip on your arm tightening until you can feel your bones grinding together. I think not. He jerks his head at one of his men, a burly knight with a thick beard and a cruel smile. Check the blade, Sir Edgar. Sir Edgar dismounts and strides towards you, his boots kicking up as he approaches. He reaches out at a glove hand, intending to grab the sword. You try to pull away, but Sir Gawain's grip is like a vice, holding you firmly in place. Sir Edgar's fingers close around the hilt, and he attempts to wrench the sword from your grasp. The runes on the blade suddenly flare with an intense, blinding light. Sir Edgar yanks his hand back with a cry of pain, smoke rising from his signed fingers. The other knights recoil, startled by the unexpected display of power. Sir Guliam's grip loosens in surprise, giving you a moment of opportunity. Taking advantage of the distraction, you wrench your arm and free and stumble backwards, nearly losing your footing on the uneven ground. You stare at Sir Guliam, your breath coming in ragged gasps, the rune sword still clutched tightly in your hand. The world seems to slow as you lock eyes with the knight, his expression a mix of shock and fury. The other knights murmur amongst themselves, their unease palpable as they eye the sword warily. The Sir Guliam's face darkens as he spits a curse in his native tongue. You dare to defy us, boy! You stand your ground, years of watching your brother Edgar face down village police, giving you courage. I'm not denying anyone, Sir Guliam. This sword belongs to my brother, who has conscripted to fight your kind. I was just taking it back to its hiding place. Sir Guliam's eyes narrow dangerously. Your brother? He barks, a harsh laugh. Your brother is dead, boy. Your bold defiance startles even you. Sir Guliam's face darkens, and his hand shoots out with shocking speed, catching you by the throat and lifting you off your feet. Your vision dims at the edges of as he brings you face to face, his spittle striking your face. You dare to threaten me, peasant scum! I will gut you where you stand for your insolence! Circle around you. Sir Gulane's grip tightens, cutting off your words as he brings you closer, his eyes blazing with rage. Your brother is dead, boy, killed by the very sword you hold. We found it clutched in his cold, dead fingers after he fell defending some worthless village in the north. Sir Boleym's cruel smile widens as he sees your reaction. That's right, boy. Your precious brother died for nothing, for a kingdom that no longer exists. Brithom is finished, and soon, so are you and your family. He releases his grip, letting you drop to the ground, gasping for air. Take them all, he commands his men, drawing his sword with a metallic ring. And bring me that sword. What? Your words echo across the hillside, and for a moment, even our main knights hesitate, taken aback by our sudden outburst. But Sir Gulin's face contorts with murderous rage. Seize them, he bellows, charging forward with his sword raised. The other knights follow his lead, their weapons drawn as they close in your position. You scramble to grab the rune sword, its ancient runes glowing with an eerie blue light as your fingers close around the hilt. The weapon thrums in your grasp, it powers, responding to your emotional state. Behind you, you hear your mother's terrified cry as she watches the knights approach, while your sister silently pulls your father back, trying to shield him from the approaching danger. Your sword pierces the knight with such force it nearly cuts him in half. As his body falls, arterial spray sprays across your face and chest. Your rage ignites the room sword into an inferno, searing light, and you channel your grief, your anger, and a newfound strength into a new bloodthirsty roar that echoes through the village. The remaining knights recoil from your blood-covered form and blazing sword. Sir Gulin's advance falters for a moment, genuine fear flickering across his aristocratic features as he witnesses your metamorphosis. However, his surprise quickly gives way to a twisted grin. So it chose you after all, boy. Your brother wasn't strong enough to wield it, but you are. How delightful. He spits at your feet. Now prove that strength. The rune sword cleaves the stone with the force of a lightning bolt, shattering it into pieces. The power it releases leaves the grass course for several paces around the impact. You stride forward with deliberate, purposeful steps. The sword's glow marching your burning gaze. The night surrounds her, gleam back away, creating a small circle. He raises his sword. In defiance, though his composure waves when he meets your unblinking stare. Sir Gulem's eyes narrows as you approach, his sword trembling slightly in his grip. You have no idea what you're doing, boy, he hisses, his bravado cracking. That sword is not meant for the likes of you. It will consume you. You don't slow your advance. The rune sword pulsing with each step, its power seeming to grow in response to your unshakable resolve. Sir Gulem's eyes widen as you close the distance, the rune sword glow intensifying with each step. He takes a half step back, his composure crumbling. Wait! He cries out, his voice cracking. You don't understand. That sword, it's cursed. It will never destroy you. But you don't listen. Your mind consumed by the burning need of vengeance. The rune sword pulses with an otherworldly energy. Its glow now so intense casts dark shadows across the battlefield. Sir Gulen's composure finally shatters as he turns to flee. But it's too late. The sword's power surges and you feel it drawing your arm back, aiming for its target. You blink. Your vision swimming back into focus as the rune sword's glow begins to fade, leaving you standing mere feet away from Selgulin. The world around you seems to slow, the sounds of battle and chaos fading into the background. You look down at your hand, still gripping the sword, and feel a strange, almost foreign sensation of control returning to your body. The sword's power, once a raging inferno, now pulses gently, as if acknowledging your newfound mastery. Sir Gulaim stands frozen, his back to you, still half turned to flee. He's breathing heavily, his armor glinting in the late afternoon sun. The other knights have backed away, creating a wider circle around you both. Your sister Syringe calls out your name, her voice cracking with fear and hope. The rune sword pulses again, but this time the power feels different, more like a conversation than a command. The rune sword's power settles into a steady push pulsing rhythm, no longer overwhelming you. You take a deep breath, feeling your own strength returning, separate from the sword's energy. Sir Gulaim remains motionless, his posture tense, awaiting your next move. The villagers watch in stunned silence, their faces a mix of awe and terror as they witness the strange turn of events. You sheath the rune sword, looking at it, trying to understand this moment. Then, with a stern face, you march up to the knight. As you slide the rune sword back into his sheath, its energy settles to a barely noticeable vibration, humming almost thoughtfully at the base of your spine. The moment feels momentous, the turning point where a new reality comes into being. For you and everyone else witnessing the strange events that transpired. You sheathe the rune sword with quite a clank, its vibration dying down to a distant, almost shooting thrum deep inside your core. Taking a deep, centering breath, you set your jaw with grim determination and march toward the wide-eyed night before you. Sir Gulaim, the arrogant lord who thought you no more than a mere boy. And yet here you are, having demonstrated the rune sword's incredible might. Sir Gulaim turns to face you, his composure now fully shattered. His face is pale, sweat beading on his forehead despite the cool autumn air. You, you can't possibly understand what you're dealing with, he stammers. His earlier bravado completely gone. That sword, it's not meant for you. It'll consume you, destroy you from within. You stand your ground, meeting his gaze steadily. You take another step forward, closing the distance between you and Sir Gulaim. The rune sword's thrumming energy pulses in time with your heartbeat, a constant reminder of the power you now wield. I understand more than you think, Sir Gulaim, you say, your voice steady and clear. This sword belonged to my brother, Edgar. He died defending our kingdom against men like you. Sir Gulaim's eyes widen, a flicker of recognition passing over his face. As you move with slow, deliberate steps, the knights indistinctly part before you, their earlier bravado evaporating in the face of the ruined sword's power. The sword pulses with your emotion, its glow intensifying as you approach your family. Your mother and father clutch each other while Sidrid wraps her arms around them both, tears streaming down her face. As you reach your family, you turn to face the knights, the rune sword held firmly in your grip, and its power pulsing like a heartbeat. The knights, now a mix of fear and anger, hesitate, their earlier confidence wavering. You can see the uncertainty in their eyes, the way they glance at each other, waiting for someone else to make the first move. Sir Ghulam, his face contorted with rage and fear, shouts, "Seize them! Now!" The knights surged forward, their early hesitation forgotten in the face of their lord's command. You raise the rune sword, its power responding to your defensive stance. The blade glows with an otherworldly light, casting eerie shadows on the ground. The knights falter, their charge slowing as they approach, but they don't stop. The knights rush forward, their armor clanking ominously as they close the distance. The rune sword's power surges through you, its energy pulsing in time with your heartbeat. The blade glows with an intense otherworldly light that casts eerie shadows on the ground as the first knight lunges. You sidestep, bringing the sword up in a swift, powerful arc. A roar escapes your throat as you bring the rune sword down in a swift, powerful arc, cleaving through the first knight's armor as if it were nothing more than parchment. The blade sings through the air, its otherworldly glow illuminating the scene in an eerie pulsate light. The knight crumples into the ground, his lifeless body twitching briefly before styling. The remaining knights falter, their charge turning into a chaotic dance of hesitation and fear. You can see the shock and disbelief in their eyes as they stare at their fallen comrade. Then back at you, the peasant boy who has become a force to be reckoned with. The rune sword hums in your grip, its power coursing through your veins, fueling your movements. The knights try to regroup, their formation crumbling under the weight of their newfound uncertainty. They circle you, but their attacks seem half-hearted, more exploratory than decisive. Your family watches in horror as the knights press forward, but the rune sword's power protects you. Your movements are swift and precise. Years of practice with the blade now enhanced by the rune sword mystical energy. Each parry and thrust becomes almost a dance as you wave a deadly pattern among the knights. The sword, a deadly extension of your body. The knights circle you, their movements hesitant and unsure. You can see the fear in their eyes, the way they glance at each other, seeking guidance or reassurance. Sir Gloom, his face contorted with rage and disbelief, shouts orders, but his voice is drowned out by the clashing of steel and the grunts of exertion from both sides. The rune sword pulses in your grip, its power responding to your emotions, fueling your movements. Each parry and thrust becomes almost a dance, as you are a deadly pattern among the knights. The sword, a deadly extension of your body. Your movements are swift and precise. Years of practice with the blade now enhanced by the rune sword's mystical energy. The knights try to regroup, their formation crumbling under the weight of their newfound uncertainty. They circle you, but their attacks seem hard-hearted, more explorative than decisive. Your family watches in horror as the knights press forward, but the rune sword's power protects you. Your movements are swift and precise. Years of practice with the blade now enhanced by the rune sword's mystical energy. The knights circle you, their movements hesitant and unsure. The knight's hesitation is short-lived. Sagurim's voice booms across the chaos. For a third and bright home, do not falter, men. He is but a boy with a cursed blade. His words snap the knights out of their stupor, and they double their efforts, their attacks becoming more coordinated and fierce. The rune sword pulses with an otherworldly energy as you parry and thrust, each movement a deadly dance. The knight's coordinated assault forces you to defend more aggressively, but your training and the sword's power allow you to hold your ground. The clash of steel echoes through the village as you and the knights engage in a deadly battle. The rune swords glow, casting an eerie light on the grim scene. Your movements are fluid and precise as you parry and thrust, but the knight's coordinated assault begins to take its toll. Sweat beads on your forehead, the rune swords heavy in your hands. Through the chaos, you glimpse your sister and mother watching with horror as they realize the full consequences of their actions. The knight's voice rises in a chant, for Ethereal and bright home. Your rune sword pulses with an otherworldly energy. The knight's body convulses, the sword pinning him to the ground, his lifeless eyes staring at the sky. The other knights recoil, their chant faltering as they stare at the fallen comrade. Sir Gawain's face turns a shade of red, his eyes wide with shock and fury. You dare? You dare to defy me and my men? He bellows, his voice shaking with rage. You will pay for this insolence, peasant. You find yourself in the center of tense standoff, surrounded by knights who seem to be struggling with their next move. Your hewn sword pulses with an otherworldly energy, casting an eerie light that batches the grim saints in its glow. The air is thick with tension, your family watching with horror as the knight's hesitation wavers, their coordinated resolve faltering in the face of an unexpected display of power. Sir Gulem's eyes narrow as he glares at you, his voice dripping with contempt. You may have bested my man, boy, but do not think for a moment that you have won. This is not over. He turns to the remaining knights, his tone sharp and commanding. Retrieve your fallen comrades. We will not leave them to rot in this wretched village. The knights spring into action, their movements stiff and awkward as they avoid your gaze. You watch as the knights gather their fallen, their faces pale and eyes averted. The village square, once a pale of simple market days and community gatherings, is now a grim tableau of death and destruction. The ruined sword, still embedded in the fallen knight, pulses with a dimmer light, as if sated by the violence it has wrought. The air is thick with the metallic scent of blood and the heavy weight of what has just transpired. As the knights gather their fallen, Sir Gawain's eyes never leave you, his gaze burning with a mixture of rage and something else, perhaps fear or uncertainty. He turns to address the remaining villagers, his words carrying clearly across the square. You have all witnessed this act of rebellion. This peasant has defied the crown's authority and killed loyal servants of Brathom. Mark my words, this will not go unpunished. The remaining villagers stand in shocked silence, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. A murmur ripples through the crowd as they exchange an uneasy glance. Your mother pulls your sister closer, her arms trembling as she holds the young girl protectively. The weight of Sir Gawain's world settles heavily over the village square, the threat hanging in the air like an oppressive shroud. Sir Gawain turns back at you, his expression a twisted mix of fury and dark amusement. So, peasant, You've shown us a glimpse of that cursed blade, but do not think for a moment that its power can save you from justice. The realm has eyes and ears everywhere, even in this backward corner of the kingdom. Your name will be noted. When the time is right, when you least expect it, justice will come. Until then, he gestures grandly, his voice dripping with venom. Go about your peasant's life. You stand your ground, your breath coming in ragged gasps, the rune sword's power still coursing through your veins. The villagers around you shift uneasily, their eyes darting with between you and Sir Gulaim. Your mother's voice cuts through the tension, her words barely above a whisper. Sin Slayer, come back to us. Sir Gulaim's eyes narrow, dangerously as he regards you, his hand unconsciously moving to the hilt of his sword. You heard your mother, boy. Go, now, before I lose my patience entirely and decide to teach you a proper lesson in respect. The remaining knights, their faces pale and drawn, begin to retreat, dragging the body of their fallen comrade with them. Their movements are jerky, as if they expect you to attack at any moment. Sir Gulaim's eyes narrow, dangerously as he regards you, his hand unconsciously moving to the hilt of his sword. You heard your mother, boy. Go, now before I lose my patience and try to decide to teach you a proper lesson in respect. The knights reluctantly withdraw, casting furtive glances your way as they exit the village square. The oppressive atmosphere lingers, a heaviness that hangs over once peaceful hamlet. Your family huddles together, their faces etched with a mix of fear and bewilderment. Your mother's eyes search yours, a silent plea for understanding and reassurance. Your mother's voice is barely a whisper, but it carries the weight of mother's love and fear. The words hang in the air, a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. You feel the pull of your family, the instinct to turn to the sun and let this nightmare fade into memory. But the rune sword pulses in your hand, a reminder of the power you now wield and the responsibility that comes with it. The rune sword pulses with a dimmer light, as if sated by the violence it has wrought. The air is thick, with the metallic scent of blood and the heavy weight of what had just transpired. As the knights gather their fallen, Sir Gulaim's eyes never leave you, his gaze burning with a mix of rage and something else, perhaps fear or uncertainty. He turns to address the remaining villagers, his words carrying clearly across the square. You have all witnessed this act of rebellion. This peasant has defied the crown's authority and killed loyal servants of Brightholm. This will not go unpunished. The murmur ripples through the crowd as they exchange uneasy glances. Your mother pulls your sister closer, her arm trembling as she holds the young girl protectively. Your sister, Sinarathrit, pulls on your tunic urgently. Sinclair, what's happening? Who was that man? Why did he want with us? Your mother intervenes, her voice strained with but calm. Sinatrat, that was a knight of Prathum's army. I believe he accused your brother of being involved in something called the Raven incident. You look down at Sinatrat, her small hands gripping your tunic, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. You feel the weight of her gaze, the unspoken questions hanging in the air. Your mother's voice is steady, but you can see the tension in her shoulders. The way her hands tremble slightly as she speaks. Sinclair, come back to us. You turn to your family, the rune sword still humming in your grip. Its power now a familiar, if unsettling presence. Your mother's face is etched with worry and pride. Her hands with clasped tightly in front of her. Your sister Sinithret clings to your tunic, a small frame shaking with suppressed fear. The villagers have begun to disperse, casting nervous glances in your direction as they hurry back to their home. You crouch down to meet Sinithret's gaze, the rune sword leaning against your leg. I am here, Sinithret. I am not going anywhere. Your voice is gentle but firm. You can feel the sword's power pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat. A steady drumbeat of energy that seems to resonate with the very earth beneath you. Sinithret's grip on your tunic tightens, her knuckles white. But those men, they said you did something wrong. They said you have a cursed sword. Her voice wavers, but her eyes hold a spark of defiance. I don't believe them. I don't believe you're cursed. Your mother places a hand on Sinithret's shoulder, her voice soft yet firm. Your mother's hand on Sinithret's shoulder is a gentle anchor, grounding the young girl in the midst of chaos. Sinithras, your brother is not cursed, he is a good man, and he has found something powerful. We must trust in him, and in the fear that has led him to this path. She turns to you, her eyes reflecting a mix of pride and concern. Sinslayer, you must go. Your mother's words are laced with urgency. The knights will return, and next time they may not be easily deterred. You must leave now before they can find you again. She reaches into her apron and pulls out a small pouch, pressing it into your hand. Take this. It's all I have saved. It will help you on your journey. The pouch feels heavy with coins, a small fortune for a peasant family. The coins chime softly as they settle in the pouch. Your sister Sinithret's lower lip quivers as she watches, but she remains silent. The sword pulses against your leg, runes glowing with an inner light. You look to your mother, then back to Sinithret, torn between duty and love. You look down at the heavy pouch in your hand, your mother's hard-earned savings, a tangible symbol of the sacrifice she is making for your safety. Your heart aches at the thought of leaving them behind. But you know she is right. The knights will return, and the next time they might not be easily dissuaded. With a heavy sigh, you slip the pouch into your belt pouch. You turn to your sister, meeting her tear-filled eyes with solemn gaze. I have to go, Sinadret. It's not safe for me here anymore. But I promise I'll come back to you no matter what. You gently remove her hands from your tunic, giving her a reassuring smile despite the ache in your chest. Your mother's hand remains on Sinithret's shoulder, a steady presence as she watches you prepare to leave. The sword pulses with an almost painful intensity, as if sensing your conflicted emotions. The sword's power pulses through you like a second heartbeat, resonating with your own anguished rhythm. As you grasp Sinithret's hands, her fingers trembling against your own, you feel a surge of strength emanating from the ancient blade. The runes along its length shimmer with an otherworldly light, almost as if the sword itself is urging you on, impatient for the next challenge. You look at the horizon, where storm clouds gather in the distance, darkening the sky. Your mother's face is etched with concern, but she nods grimly, acknowledging the necessity of your departure. The sword pulses at your side, its power surging with your conflicting emotions. A cool wind rises, carrying with it the smell of rain and distant smoke. Your sister Sinithrit watches you with a mix of fear and trust in her eyes. The sword pulses urgently as if impatient to embark on a new chapter. You meet your mother's gaze, seeing in her eyes not only worry for your safety but also a steely resolve that you know you have inherited from her. Your father would have been proud, she says, her voice rough with emotion but steady. And so am I. Pratham needs a true hero, now more than ever. The sword pulses, its runes glowing brighter. The wind carries the sounds of horses approaching from the north. Your mother's face darkens as she looks past you. They're coming. You must go now, Sinclair. Your sister's safety depends on it. Sinithrit clutches your mother's skirts, her small frame shaking. You turn the rune sword at your hip, pulsing with an ominous light. You take a deep breath, steeling yourself from what must next. The sword pulses against your leg, its power surging through you like a tidal wave. You can feel the ancient magic coursing through your veins, a heady mix of strength and danger. The ruins along the blade shimmer with an otherworldly light, almost as if they are alive and eager for coming confrontation. You turn to your sister, kneeling down to meet her at eye level. Sintrith, I need you to be brave for me. Can you do that? You ask, your voice out but firm. Your sister's lower lip quivers, but she nods, her small hands gripping your tunic tightly. The sword pulses against your leg, its power surging through you, a reminder of the weight of the coming conflict. As the knights approach, your mother's hand tightens on Seth's shoulder. Your sister will stay here with me, she says, her words broking no argument. You must go alone. The sword, its power draws attention, too much attention. Her words crack as she speaks. The sword pulses with increasing urgency, its runes blazing brighter with each approaching hoofbeat. You nod, standing up and taking a deep breath. You can see the knights now, their armor glinting in the fading light, as they approach the village. The sword at your side pulses with an almost painful intensity, its ruins casting eerie shadows on the ground. You turn to your mother, your voice steady despite the turmoil within you. I will return for you both, I promise. You say, your voice is low rumble. Your mother's eyes well up with tears, but she nods, her jaw set in determination. We'll be here waiting, but you must go now. She turns to Senithrit, gently guiding her away from you. Come, child, your brother faces weird. Senithrit resists for a moment, her small hands clutching at your tunic. But, but I want to stay with you. Her voice cracks with a child's anguish, torn between the love of her brother and the instinctual fear of the unknown. You kneel down again.